I'm originally from Alabama. I'm from Anderson, Alabama. That's about an hour and 20 outside of Atlanta.
Okay.
So to give you kind of like a backstory, prior to my transition into cannabis, I was working within the music industry. So when I turned about 18 in 2007, I opened a recording studio. Well, no, I was about 20. So opened a recording studio in Anderson, which is, predominantly black, aka the hood. It was going really well,
Okay.
but just the area we were in, it got broken into a lot. So we really just weren't able to sustain being in business, even though we were finding success on how we were kind of marketing our studio. And people, there's a lot of talented people in areas like that, and we were really proud to just have like a place where they could have an outlet to, right? But all it takes is one person to ruin it for everybody. So from there, we were kind of running into issues with that, and my partner in that venture, he was an artist also. His name was London Blue, and he was really talented. He was a rapper and producer, and just through the people who we met, just being within it, he actually got a record deal.
Okay.
So it was an indie label who was distributed by Universal. So long story short, this is probably around 2011, 2012 by now, and he put out an EP in it. We marketed it really well. So we were a little bit ahead of the streaming wave, right? So 2010, 2011, 2012 was a weird time as far as like how we consume music, because we wasn't really buying music no more. And then you had like SoundCloud popping up and YouTube, of course.
Right.
So we kind of figured out how to market on like SoundCloud and, really just SoundCloud. Audio Mac was one at the time, live mixtape, stuff like that. Remember when we used to have to go on like live mixtapes and shit? So
Exactly.
that's kind of where we were, and we mastered it really well, and we ended up getting like 700,000 streams on an album that we had like a $1,700 budget on, right? So it actually caught the attention of labels, not even really more so for the music, but how well we delivered the project.
Right.
So from there, I ended up working for the label that had distributed the album. They were like, can you do this for our other projects? And from there I was just in music marketing, right?
Okay.
Kind of inadvertently. I was just pretty much a homeboy manager. It's like, you my homeboy, I think you dope, I'm gonna figure out what I need to do as I go, right?
Right.
So ended up getting a job. At the time it was called 713. They got bought out by Sony, but at the time it was called 713. They were distributed by Universal. So I just started working with them on their projects, stuff like that. And then from there, fast forward a little bit, I started working with Street Execs in Atlanta.
Okay.
So they managed like 2 Chainz, Dolph, Trouble, Travis, Porter. So I was just a marketing manager, whatever I had to do. That was a glamorous title, but in reality, it was just kind of like push the music. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
Plan an event, book a show, unpack the bags, whatever you got to do. So that was kind of where I was at in that space for a while, as well as freelancing, doing my own work. Working with them kind of validated me, because you're from Atlanta, so coming from somewhere where everybody's trying to do music, you kind of got to separate yourself. People got to be able to take you seriously, right?
Exactly.
As an artist or as like an A&R or whatever you are, and Street Execs did that for me. So from there, I was able to branch over to my own agency, which was called Selective, and
Okay.
I did work with like Trinidad James. I did projects with like Dolph. Project management, tour support, just freelance stuff, whatever I can get a couple $100,000 doing in my expertise. And then, but a friend of mine, he pretty much just kept harping on me to come into cannabis, because it's like, this is a new budding industry, no pun intended. And it's an opportunity for you to create equity instead of us running around being excited that we got a job at Atlantic or Def Jam or wherever. How about you could potentially create that within cannabis with your same skill set, right?
Right.
So from there, I just started doing my research and realizing like, there isn't really a lot of like well-branded companies in cannabis. So from there, I'm kind of skipping around, but for somewhere in there after Street Execs, I was living in New York for a couple of years. So just living there and kind of studying the cannabis conversation there, being ahead of legalization, we decided to just start working on a cannabis delivery app, right? So that was the idea, like, okay, New York is very congested, it's 8 million people there. Once it legalizes, what's gonna be a necessity? Once the initial excitement of, we can buy weed now passes, what are some of like the business models that we can kind of implement and monetize, right?
Right.
So we came up with delivery, right? So, which probably makes more sense in that city than arguably anywhere else, right? So I just started developing Greenbox, and we had really good progress with it. So, you know, we were featured in, you know, some really prominent publications, which once again, like in music, it validated us.